Good morning, heart and soul. Thank you, Ron. Thank you very, very much. So, Heart and Soul is, thank you for being here today. And thank you for tuning in or showing up throughout the week so that you can be a part of our Sunday celebration. It makes a difference, it means a lot. I got it handled. My apologies. So we are in, Heart and Soul is in its celebration season. Our anniversary, our 16th anniversary. Amen indeed. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes, Lord. Our 16th anniversary is November 2nd. And so we will be here in celebration mode. Just the choir will be on. There is still time. If you are familiar with the songs, you're willing to do the work to bring your voice to it, to be in touch with Valerie Trout. But there are two more rehearsals, tomorrow and then the following Monday as well, in preparation for our 16th anniversary Sunday service. But that's not all. In an infomercial kind of way. But wait, there's more. And the more is that on November 15th, on Saturday, November 15th, we are presenting an amazing celebration that is Unbroken Spirit. It's in our 16th anniversary celebration, we are paying homage to the rich influence of Black artists in American musical theater, featuring songs from several iconic Black Broadway musicals. This celebration, our celebration, and this is a huge part of it. Tammy and I actually started the seed idea began back in February, and we began speaking about it and planting some seeds back in May. And so this is, dare I say, for such a time as this, our celebration comes at a time when communities are navigating profound socio-political upheaval. And in this climate, we demonstrate the celebration of spirit that is unbroken. Y'all know that, yes? That there is a certain, well, it's not simply resilient, but endeavoring to be continually generative, visionary, and whole. So by gathering in shared reverence for the sacred role of art in shaping consciousness, telling our truths, imagining the world we seek to build, I invite you to join us on Saturday, November 15th for Unbroken, for the love of the music. And because both Tammy and Liberta are with us today, Tammy and Liberta are both a key part of the show. And so I've asked her to give us a bit of a peek. Would that be okay? If we had a little sneak peek today? Tammy?
Thank you, Reverend Andriette. The music is everything. This has been such a beautiful and very deep learning journey. When we talk about the Hires sisters, which you will learn more about, and how they are really the foundation of the American musical, to tell you the truth. They pulled the Black narrative out of minstrelsy, because that was not our narrative. That was another thing imposed upon us. And the higher sisters said, no, that's not our life, and that's not what we want to portray. So of our own free will, we will show you our lives as they really are, and the things that we aspire to be. We have the higher sisters to thank for this beautiful foundation. And from that foundation grew other narratives of who we are, starting with Noble and Sissel's Shuffle Along, and with U.B. Blake, all the way up to Duke Ellington and Sophisticated Ladies, and Fats Waller and Bubbling Brown Sugar, and Ain't Misbehavin', and into the 70s with Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope, with Intozaki Shange's for colored girls who've considered suicide when the rainbow was enough, all the way up to The Wiz, Believe in Yourself. Home, you can always go home, because this is where home is. You are your home. I'm working on a project about the origin of ring shout, and have the dancers say at the end of the presentation, we are the shout. We're the shout. The shout, those people who came before us, our beloved ancestors, the shout didn't die. And it doesn't die. We keep the shout going, because we're the shout. As we know, we're the ones we've been waiting for. Carmen Jones. Yeah, taken from Bizet's Carmen, but Dorothy Dandridge gave Carmen a thing she never had. And with that, I'm going to present Miss Liberta Laurel to sing Bizet's Carmen. And when you come to Unbroken Spirit, for the love of the music, you will hear the English part of that. Thank you, Liberta.
Liberta Laurel. And our beloved Tammy Hall. Takes my breath away. Yes, yes. So run, don't walk to get your tickets, and get tickets for others. Our intention is to sell out. We wouldn't be mad at all if we had standing room only, but you understand how it is that that could well be the case. Yes? Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you, Liberta. Yes. It is all that and a whole meal. Way beyond a bag of chips. Yep, a whole meal. all of that. So be with us for that. Please don't miss out on this because you have like absolutely no excuse whatsoever. So I've been playing with y'all, sharing with you about this idea of, do you have to believe it in order to see it, or must you see it in order to believe it? We did that, and then we talked about the importance of imagining and feeling it, and how all of this comes together. And I'm not clear which came first, the chicken or the egg, the order of things. I'm not clear it matters. What I'm clear about is we need to get busy with believing and envisioning, visualizing, envisioning, imagining, and feeling. So today I'm endeavoring to talk about the creative alchemy of imagination and feeling. Put these together. And I love what Reverend Angelo created as our little imagery that you see now on the screen, this notion of how imagining and feeling is a part of the puzzle of getting to your vision. The masters would say there's really no way to get there if you are not imagining, if you're not seeing it, if you're not feeling it, if you're not being it, if it's not the vibrational place where you are. We're going to be talking more and more about this, because what I realize is it's kind of left out, or it's spread out in places. And so my goal is to put it together, to bring these ideas together in a way that we can use them as even steps, as clarity for how we get to where we want to be. So we'll continue to explore imagination, how it is more powerful than our thought. But you don't get to imagination without a thought. Does this make sense? So it's not an either or, it's ensuring that we're being about all of this. So imagination is the creative instrument of the soul. So last Sunday, a question was posed during the service, and I always welcome a good question that's on point, and that helped me to kind of rethink what our next step is in this journey. Because the questioner posed it by sharing that they have a vision board. And when they're in front of the vision board and focused on the vision board and when that's taking up their consciousness, they are good to go. Now, no surprise to us. But when they move from that, it gets more challenging, more difficult. And so the way the questioner actually laid that out, I heard them telling us why it ceases to work. Because they were literally describing how they move from a focused place with their attention and their imagination focused to taking in a broader sense that includes doubt and fear. Yes? So we're going to focus on stepping beyond just wishful thinking, and sometimes that's what we're doing with our vision boards, no offense intended, but sometimes where we are is wishful thinking. And so our goal today and in the weeks to follow is to move from wishful thinking to engaging our imagination and our feelings deep enough, full enough to move the needle to where we want to be and how we want it to be. Yes? Now look, this is not new stuff. Our ancestors, come on, Mother Harriet, she could teach this as the master course and has taught it by her life and her living. Does that make sense? And all of the, through Black history, I was bringing you examples of folks who were doing this. In the face of what looked like putting their lives on the line, they saw something else. They imagined other outcomes. They envisioned other possibilities, and they moved towards those possibilities. They were not in denial about what the time was or how the laws were structured and how they were being treated. They simply chose to be in a different consciousness in determining what was theirs to be and do. Yes? This is good stuff. So look, we're going to begin. Duke Ellington wrote a song entitled Heaven. And what I love about this song is this part of the lyric where he says, heaven supreme. Heaven, because this is part of this visualization. This is a part of the imagining, because we're not looking to Duke Ellington to tell us what heaven is. But he was looking to him to see what he could see, to feel what he could feel. Does this make sense? Y'all better listen to lyrics. So he says, heaven supreme, heaven combined. So this is his imagining. He's bringing it into his consciousness and awareness. Heaven combines every sweet and pretty thing life would love to bring. Heavenly, heaven to be, in such the ultimate degree to be. This is Liberta Laurel and Tammy Hall. Heaven.
My dream, heaven,
This is where the church says amen. Yes, 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 yes. That was Liberta Laurel and Tammy Hall on piano. Yes, Lord. Oh, did I tell you we have a show on November 15th, the anniversary? Y'all better get ready. Get ready. Go on, Duke Ellington. Because we can use him as a coach in this. Because he's envisioning, he's imagining, he's feeling something, yes? And we certainly felt it in Liberta's interpretation, her vocal interpretation of that piece. We could feel it. So we each have, none of us can tell another what heaven is. Oh, but in your own meanderings, you've been there. Some folks, the foodies, come on, you know who you are. Don't act like you're not it. Don't act like this is not the time to start acting like you're not in heaven with that forkful. You know who you are. Some of you in dancing, there's a song that comes on and it doesn't matter who else is there or how it's going or if anyone is there. You know you're going to have to move to that. And that's a moment. These are moments that for some, they would label it what you want. The inner experience, the vibration of it, though, is heaven-like, isn't it? Yes, those moments. And so that's a part of it. And look, because we each have that as a part of who we are and how we are and what we do in life. Sometimes would it be okay if I just said abuse it? Misuse it? So we design hell as well. Yeah, we are multifaceted beings. We can master it all. So we master these moments of heaven. And then we use that same process to master the invention of the experience of hell. I'm still working with, because I think it fits for us, how Anita Baker in one of my favorite songs, Tammy, I told him it's really the piano part that wears me out in Fairy Tale. In Anita Baker's Fairy Tale, it's the piano part that wears me out, but the lyrics tell us something as well. We don't want to get lost in that because, and I've played with it some here, because in the song she sings, my fantasy is over. This sense of how we thought the world got to be the way it is, how I thought I got to this place, who I thought was involved in it. There's a moment when we can declare my fantasy is over. My life can now begin, and it's because I've allowed that story to end. She says in the lyric, my story ends. This is, to me, I'm interpreting it, all of my shoulda, woulda, coulda part of the story, how I thought it was going to work out. All of that part of the story ends as stories do, and that's when what? Reality steps into view. You better ask somebody. Because once you move all of the stuff, the invention of hell, the repetition, repetitious thinking around ain't it awful? And how it looks like, because if you sit in ain't it awful long enough, you will find yourself into and it's getting worse. Now it may or may not be getting worse, but you will begin to, just like you saw heaven, you will begin to see hell on approach. But it has everything to do with where you stand. It has everything to do with, and when I say where you stand, I don't mean necessarily where your feet are planted, where your mind is. And how you're using it, what you're feeling, and how you're engaging the emotional tone. We began I don't even know when, we started talking about the unseen power within you. And I was sharing from that. If y'all would put up the slide just for a moment of remembrance. The original slide had the kind of egg shape to the right where we were acknowledging that we live in this field of divine reality. And within divine reality, we make our own. Because none of us are living divine reality. Not on this plane. What we're living is the pieces. Would you understand if I said that we broke off? We break off a little piece. And that's what so our personal reality, or we don't break off a piece, and our personal reality is very hell-like. So it's up to us to decide. And what this mixture is, what gets us there, is our our feelings. It's our thoughts, it's our attitudes, our beliefs, our perceptions, our reactions and responses. All of that culminates in our current and desired, because we also use that to paint the next picture. So it's where we live right now, but it's also the neighborhood in which we're going to be moving. Yes? Yes, because we can be dissatisfied with where we are, but if we're not changing our thinking about it, our perception of it, the way we feel about it, etc., we are going to create it elsewhere. What's the axiom? Wherever I go, there I am. Now, I know we didn't intend to find us there. We were going to find newness. We were tired of being with her and him and them. And off we go. We invested in it. We've done everything to move from that, and voila. We get there and we meet us. And nothing has changed much except the location. It's an opportunity. This is not a criticism at all. This is just laying. See, the good news, whenever I talk to y'all this way, the good news is that you can change it. If I came to you like some folks in other places where the idea is that you do not have dominion in your life, that life is being laid out for you, that's a different scenario. You then are not empowered to make the change. In this, I'm like, get on up and get busy. Because look, the shift that I made in this chart is simply, in this image rather, this graphic, is to say that the manifestation of my current and desired reality all happens within divine reality, which is the field of infinite possibility. Does that make sense? So essentially, if you've taken classes here, and if you haven't, I need to know why. But let me just say, if you've taken classes here, then you already know that there is a creative process that is always happening, and this is the way I'm depicting it. We're looking at how our imagining set our mold, how our belief then seals the mold. Does that make sense? So our imagining creates a possibility. So there's a slide there we go. Good. So our imagining, so this is me just, wonder if, I could see that. That same last Sunday, there was somebody here who I asked to give us an example. And the individual gave us an example, and as I began, I realized I had to go back and ask them to just stop, because they were in it so that their face was seeing us looking at what that person did not want to be seen. It was so clear. When we are in our imagining mode, we are there. There is no difference, let me say, on the inside. And most of life is happening on the inside, by the way. And then we project what our next step is going to be. So when we are imagining, if we're really in it, somebody almost has to shake us to say, are you here? And you go, oh, what? Because you weren't. You were in whatever it was, you were in heaven, for example. Yes, you left the room, your body was still present. But your mind, your feelings, your sensibilities left and were in another experience of your own creation. So I don't know whether it was heaven or whether it was hell. We can usually tell, though, because we're looking at you. We see your experience. And heaven doesn't look the same on you as hell does. Now, that's some wisdom right there. That's some wisdom I just dropped. Because sometimes we think it's all an inside job, but we're out looking like we want people to believe we're in heaven, but we looking like we in hell. And we don't know it because we don't see ourselves. So when somebody, what's the matter? We like nothing. We're like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is too. So our imagining set the mold. Set the molds for where we can go and how. And then if we believe in those imaginings, if you bring some thought to it, if you begin if you bring your thinking and your feeling to it more fully, then you are sealing that mold of that possibility that you just imagined. And then here's the thing. As you do that, life, with a capital L, divine life, fills that mold, and that's what's called manifestation. That's what it is. Yeah, sometimes people say the universe, this, that, and the other. It's life, it's divine life. It's the order in which we all live, move, and have our being that then fills it. Why? Because you're the energetic presence for it. And it is but an affirmation. It is but a confirmation of what you are vibrating. Does that make sense? Good. So we're talking about what can happen next. So I've been playing. I have loved Neville from probably about 80. When I first started with Terry Cole Whitaker, that was one of the first books, either she suggested, I don't know, but I know it came out of that experience. And the first one was Your Faith is Your Fortune. That was the first Neville book I read, and it was just eye-opening. And it's an easy one if you wanted to if you felt like, well, is there something I could get started with? I would say, mainly because I started there, Your Faith is Your Fortune is a good jumping off place. So Neville Goddard and Ernest Holmes, see, I'm blending these. They have, I want to put them together in a way that is more accessible for us. So look, Neville Goddard, if you study what he's talking about, he's saying that imagination, when you add your feeling, your deep feeling, not just a passing response to it, but your feeling, when you go in on it, that's what he says is creation. That's what that process is. It's your imagination plus feeling yields creation. That's the way he orders it in his teaching. Ernest Holmes, very similarly, using different terminology, says thought plus belief gets us to demonstration. So when we synthesize it, it's the same thing. It's just that each one is emphasizing a different aspect of it. Neville lives in the universe of feeling and imagination. Ernest Holmes lives in the universe of mental and belief, thinking and believing. He would say makes it so. Neville would say that imagining and feeling makes it so. I'm like, do not try to pick a camp, put that mess together, and get busy. Does that make sense? We just gonna blend this so that we don't miss any opportunity for the highest and best good. We are putting all of this together. Yes? So Neville says this. He says, and I need you to get this. This would be if you got a phone and you want to pull it out and get this, even if you're at home. Get this, because to the extent that you understand this, you will operate in a different way. Neville says, an assumption, though false, if persisted, will harden into fact. Now, throughout our lives, if we look, we have proof of the truth of this, where there was an assumption that we kept going with. Now, sometimes, if you're fortunate, you get to a point on that trek of belief where it becomes obvious that that assumption was incorrect. That's if we're fortunate. And we go, oh my goodness. For all this time, I was thinking whatever it was. The reason that's fortunate is because if you have good sense, you go in and you change it. If you're unfortunate, you never come to the awareness that it's an erroneous assumption. And you live it like it's law. And your living it like it's law makes it law for you. Mother Harriet is saying she could offer an example with her life. She set up a different law. As an enslaved person, there was nothing in the history of that time that made her free. Nothing in her personal circumstance. It was in her imagining. Come on, Frederick Douglass, he wants in on this. Solely the imaginings of Frederick Douglass for what he would do. I'm sure there were those who would say, why? You know it's a risk for you to be reading and learning to read. But it's like, not for where I'm headed, it isn't. It's key to what needs to happen. So it's not the same for all of us, given our situations. I use historical figures and situations and circumstances, but I'm needing you to translate that to the now. Because sometimes after I've given a talk, folks really are thinking about, well, that was good. That was a good little history snippet you gave us. And I'm like, that wasn't what I was doing. I was trying to tell you about your life and your living. And for whatever reason, though, I tend to be more indirect in my teaching in that way. So I'm giving you examples, but I'm going to need you to connect some dots. Come on, sometimes the folks at home, I don't know if it's because you're, but you need to get in here and get this like up close and personal. But I appreciate that you tune in and that you get it. You understand how to work with this. So you get that Neville is telling us if you are working on the wrong thoughts, you need to what? Drop that like it's hot. Because if you continue to mess with it, it will harden into the law of your living. Yes? Okay, now Ernest Holmes, though, he says in order to make a demonstration, and we all are looking for demonstration. That's how we live. So it doesn't make you greedy or any of that. It's not like you're not grateful for what you have. But if you want to breathe tomorrow morning, if you have a vision of your eyes opening tomorrow morning, that's a demonstration. Very simply, does that make sense? Okay, so everybody wants a demonstration. He says we must have a mental equivalent of the thing we desire. This is essential. If you got a prognosis, I'm going to need you thinking about something other than the prognosis. Thank you. I got one. Okay, somebody else is breaking off. I want that to kind of, you know how something rumbles through like a wave? I'm going to need y'all to wave on this one. Yes? Yes, because until we have remember, Holmes is in the mental world. Neville is wanting us to feel it. Well, we got to do both. So Holmes says you're going to have a mental equivalent. Neville would say this, you better feel this. It don't matter how mental of an equivalent you have. Until you feel it, the thing you desire is out of your reach. Yes, Krista. That's not what I'm saying. It is and it ain't in a Bagger Vance kind of way. It is and it ain't. Look, her question is it's a little stumping because embedded in the question is the map out. Like you've heard it said, the way out is the way in is the way out, however that is gone. Look, the fact that what I heard was the word problem, that was the one word that was repeated throughout the question. That's part of the problem, is that the idea that there's a problem. Imagine, if you will, for a moment, because I know y'all couldn't hear it, and I didn't want to interrupt it because I could tell that she was feeling it, and I wanted you in the feeling of it. So I'm going to do my best to say that what I heard described is, well, what do you do if the problem keeps coming? And I'm like, how the problem keep coming? Because my view is we make that up. When I have a repetitive problem, I have decided, one, it's a problem versus a message versus an opportunity versus whatever else, however I could see it. The moment I decide that it's a problem, something else happens in me. Because this ain't my first rodeo with problems. So when it's a problem, I get ready for the problem. But what I've done in my getting ready for the problem is I've changed my countenance. I have changed my sense of who and how I am and what can be a problem for me. What if, just for drill, it's not a problem? Now, I'm not saying it's not a thing that's showing up. I'm just saying, what if it's not a problem? What if it's a message? What is this here I've seen you before. What are you here to teach me? What are you trying to tell me? Let me get myself centered, because I'm willing to have you not show up again. Now the advanced thing is, unless you got an advanced message for me. But let's work this out right now. Let me quit going to my place where I go when I think it's a problem, which probably means I'm not listening to it. I'm not really available to the gift that it might have for me. Because when they're gift bearers, I don't ever call them problems. Yes? So the moment you say, oh, you got a gift for me, come on, let me sit down and get still so I can get the gift at the level of which it can change my life and we can complete this. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. So this is not me saying that we don't have some stuff happening in our lives. What I'm saying is, remember that first chart that says how you get to your reality is you got to think it, you got to feel it, you got to perceive stuff, you got to respond and react. You got to get up in this. Now, most of the time, the exception is Anita Baker and fairy tales, you don't see yourself in it. You see other folks doing stuff to you. You see situations, you see whoever's in the White House or whoever is in in the judicial, in all of the branches of government, we go, that's it, see? Because that's happening, that means, no, I don't, except for the one who believes that. Now, if you believe that, but I've just come to tell you that there's never been a time where the White House was empty. Since they built it in that first occupation, there has always been somebody sitting in there doing something. And some of the times they were doing worse than whatever it is you could describe in the current moment. And life continued. And folks took dominion in ways that made a difference. Do not play with me about this. This is not the rough side of the mountain. Our ancestors would curl all hair My mother used to say that her great-grandmother, who had been enslaved, would never, they would ask her, what was it like? She would never even talk about it. And we can weigh in about what we think about that. What I know is that it was traumatic. But she lived to see her granddaughter who went to college. All of us in Texas, I need you. In her imagination, I don't know that she could have even imagined. Because I don't know that Prairieville or Wiley were even built or operating at that time in space. But there's an opening in our hearts and minds out of which the goodness that we want to see. But remember, some of us are breathing into the hell. Most often not intentionally, but I gotta go there. I gotta go there. Sometimes what you read in the news, you can't really, all of us, can I go on record and just say, all y'all can't listen to the news and read the paper? Some of y'all just not ready. There are those who can hold it. So I'm not saying don't. You may have to arrange to get your information, because I'm not saying do not be informed. So you may have to be very conscientious about how you get your information. But some of y'all can't just open up the whatever. You can't just turn on the television or click into on the internet. You need to turn off that notification that's coming from wherever it's coming from, where you feel it in the pit of your stomach, because that is feeling. And I told you feeling is key to manifestation. So that knot in your stomach is manifesting in your mental equivalent. And you are unaware of the power, the creative power that you are and are being. And so while some are doing the work, come on, Mother Harriet, while you're doing the work to free people, others are doing the work to keep folks bound in the feeling tone of it, in their fear, in their doubt that is overriding all else. Does that make sense? Ooh, y'all, this is okay, look. The late, great Belva Davis said, don't be afraid of the space between your dreams and reality. And let's just lay this thing out. If they're your dreams, they can't be your reality. Because we don't dream our reality. You know, you have a certain reality, and let's say it is magnificent. In your own mind, you're like, oh, thank you, Lord. How did I get to have such a magnificent life and experience? And you still have a dream. You still have a dream. And there's a space between where you are now and where you'd love to be. And don't let that scare you. Because what's in there, what's in that space is the divine opportunity. Look at here. Deb, you're amazing, and I love you. We're going to look at this next piece that I'm going to walk y'all through. It's, in my mind, this notion, remember in that first image I showed you with the arrows that show your thinking, your feelings, your perceptions, all of that? All of that is happening within the field of divine reality. And within divine reality is this field of infinite possibility. I've talked about this before. There's a field of infinite possibility. There's nothing to see in it. It's whatever is possible. Now, here we know this historically. There's some things that are happening today in 2025 that we have access to. Technology could be part of it, how cars are. When we compare the cars of the 60s to the cars of the 2000s, especially this current time, as I'm looking at models shifting and electric cars, what? You know, just all driverless cars. No, that's a little scary. But you see what I just did with that? You see what I just did with that? I just modeled what I'm talking about. That I have something that is, imagine this, because there's only one of us thinking, for real, for real. I just negatively impacted the forward motion of whatever that technology is. Not intentionally. What I was simply saying is I don't get it. Now, obviously, if it's driverless, they're not going to put me in it. I would have to go get in the back seat to do that. But by my thinking, I am holding it in a way. Now, I could say I don't know nobody who's invested in it that's known to me. Nobody has told me they have stock in it. No, I don't think I know personally anybody who's part of the invention staff or the technology or any of that. So I don't have any personal connection, but the power of my thinking and my feeling. And that came from, I want to say, that was a knee-jerk. That came from a place somewhere in me is a thought about that. I could not have passed the test if you told me that I have a thought about that. I'd say to you, I don't have, trust me when I tell you I'm not thinking about that. But you see that I do have a thought about this. Y'all need to pay me extra, because this right here, that part right there was a perfect example of it. Do you see, from a place of total ignorance, the absence of any awareness that I could have anything to do with that? I just proved to you that I, by my thinking and my feeling, am engaged in some part of that. Does that help answer it? Do you see how far I'll go? So look. Let's look at this notion. I think that this image that Deb helped me with, you should have seen what I sent her. Lord. But it don't matter what I sent her, because what she sent me back is this. So look, we're in the field of divine reality. That's why that's at the top and bottom. But it's the whole field, okay? And then within the field are all of these infinite possibilities. It's a field of infinite possibilities. Yes? So within that, here's what's happening on an individual level. I have my current reality, whatever that is. I can love it, I can hate it, I can be anywhere on that continuum of how I am with my current situation, circumstance, lowercase r reality. Yes? Here's what can shift. Here's how the shift can happen. The only way it happens is I must imagine something else. I'm either imagining more of what it is. If it's, let's say I got a diagnosis and a prognosis that I really, maybe it's frightening me, or I've been here before and I'm tired of this, but I have some kind of reaction around it, yes? So I can imagine health and wholeness and well-being, or I can keep imagining that prognosis. I can read all of the data, or some of the data. I don't have to read all of it. I can just read one little piece that talks about that somebody with this prognosis goes from here to here and then bam, to whatever it is that you don't want. But I can keep just thinking about that and being afraid about it, and I can keep asking for prayer around it. But can you see what I'm doing? Because I'm pretty much engaged in a repetitive focus on what I don't want. And I'm imagining outcomes that I don't want. So we can do it either way. We can imagine outcomes we want and focus on that, or we can imagine outcomes we don't. And we do both with mastery. So for anybody who wanted to ask, but how do I do that? You've been doing it so long. You are a master at what we're talking about. So then in this imagining, make certain you are feeling it. Stop to see that. And do a dance, do whatever it is that here's the question. When the thing happens the way you want to happen, what is it? What do you do? Everybody does something. Find out what you do. Yeah, see? Everybody, you do something. Some people are like, oh, sucky. Yes. I don't know what you do, but you need to know what you do. Because if you're not doing that, you're not feeding this in the way that's required. Because you know you. I mean the capital Y-O-U. Not the one you present to people and tell people who you are. Not that one. Not the one on your LinkedIn. Not her, him, them. It's the one that's in the mirror. The one in the mirror. It knows when you really feel something. You need to know when you really feel it because you want to begin practicing feeling. Does that make sense? In the way that's consistent with when you feel a thing, you bring it into being. So you want to start practicing doing that, yes? In that process, that builds faith. You don't have to sit down or ask me how to build faith. This, imagining and feeling, will build your faith. You'll begin to have a sense of trust in it in order to do this process. Is this making sense? So faith by any name or color begins to show up in this, yes? And these three pieces are key to arriving in your desired reality. If you're not imagining it, meaning having a vision for it that you can see and feel, and be in so completely that you are building faith, you're radiating a sense of faith around it, then you're not really doing this thing. And a lot of us just play act at it. We got the same thing on the vision board we've been had. We just update the pictures. And I ain't mad at you for that, do you? What I'm saying is that for anybody who wants to move from that, like to the front of the class and actually have the vision board retired because you've already done that stuff, it's possible to do. But you're going to have to really be it and do it. Does that make sense? Yeah, this moves it from the talk about it piece. Okay, we're going to come back to these, but because I'm going to close with this notion of how manifestation reinforces belief and deepens faith. Because look at here. You saw how that arrow moved you to your desired outcome. Once you get any piece of that, now here's the disclaimer. If you get a piece of your desired outcome and it scares you spitless, you're going to have to rinse and repeat. Is it okay if I just told you that truth? Because it works, but you may not be ready for it to work. It works, but you may not be ready to give up that old pattern of not having it. So if having it, the first little bits of having it, may scare you spitless, in which case, if you're not paying attention, you'll just back off of it and act like that didn't quite happen. Yeah, and go back to imagining the prognosis, the old job, the children not, whatever. You got the imagine, you don't need me. So look how this works. Let's do this other slide. I'm going to walk through this and I'm going to get out of people's way here. Look, we begin with this in this diagram at the top in the yellow. We have the idea, the thought. That's the mental. It's not, you don't have no mental equivalent yet. You just got the mental engagement around an idea. Yes? Be careful, because that ain't the thing. That's not enough. Yeah? So from there, it's the engagement of the imagination and the feelings. Because that's feeding it. That's like it'd be like, well, I'm not even clear what the seed part is, because just the thought is not enough for a seed. We're now, I guess, kind of doing hydroponics. You know, you're getting it to a point where it can survive, where it can generate, where it can be. Yes? So you have the idea, the thought, you added imagination and feelings, and now you're getting a taste of manifestation. Now, if you turn tail and run, then we got a different cycle going. It spins off into something else. But if you stay with it, then you begin to you begin to generate a belief, a different belief than you've had before. Because it really is done unto us as we believe. So you're now believing based on out of that manifestation in some way is transforming your belief system. Does that make sense? And it happens either way. It can either transform it where you go, oh, God, no. And off you go, you spin off in another way, or you go, thank you, God. And you begin to see yourself as someone who can have, who can be, who can do. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's often it kind of stops there, I think, in the teaching and the understanding of it. Let's continue. Because out of that belief, we develop a stronger belief and a deeper faith. Because you're now believing, oh my goodness, I really can have that house, that car, that family, that job, that whatever it is. I really can. So now you're like a different person who's thinking, who's feeling and imagining, and who's believing. And so it tends to build on itself exponentially, yes? Okay. And that leads to even greater manifestation. Sometimes we sit in judgment, like how could he possibly get that? How could that possibly be? They are believing it. They're not going by your rules. They don't believe they can't have it. You believe because you know something about them, or you think you do, that they should be disqualified. But they don't believe that. And so they are believing and being in a different way and working this process. So that ever greater manifestation means that next thought and idea comes kind of turbocharged from a place of belief. This is manifestation, demonstration, creation 101A for Andriette. This is the way what I'm doing is, thank you, Deb, is out picturing what's in my mind and in my heart and how I see it as I read these masters. And they are giving it up. Ernest Holmes and Neville Goddard are giving it up. And if we blend this in the ways that I'm suggesting or the ways that you'll come up with, we'll be there. We'll be there. Neville said the world cannot change until you change your concept of it. Your conception of it, not your concept, your conception, because you are conceptualizing it. He says that nations as well as people are only what you believe them to be. Convince yourself of the truth. You'll succeed in convincing yourself of the reality of the state sought, and results must follow. Oh, Lordy, Miss Claudie. So look, Liberta will sing Keep Me. And part of the lyric is, when trials and troubles come my way, I call on a strength from inside. It keeps me, it holds me, it helps me stand, though the winds blow and the rain tumbles down. I leave you with that idea and with Liberta Laurel and Tammy Hall. Thank you.
drawn the strength from inside. It keeps me and holds me, helps me stand. The winds blow and rain tumble down. Even when light from the sun fades away, keep me warm. When night and sorrows come, I rest in the thoughts of the dawn. It keeps me and holds me, helps me sleep, no matter what dreams won't come. Even when I, in despair, turn away, keep me still. Keep me when I won't believe the truth, and blot out the sound of its voice. Keep me when quiet is too loud, and all I can hear is fear and doubt. When trials and trials